Everyone, I'm Dr. Jason West, and welcome to Natural Treatments for Stomach Problems. We kind of term this the Stomach University. So whether it's acid reflux or heartburn or diarrhea or indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, like we're just kind of giving you some ideas of what you can do at home, some things that really help to heal and soothe irritated GI tissue. And it's not just me saying it, we're actually showing you real life people that are beating their disease. So I'm going to start off this segment introducing you to Anderson, who had years of stomach problems that literally he's 100% better. So check this out. Hello everyone, it's Dr. West and Anderson with a West Clinic success story. So this is a really fun case. I asked Anderson if he would share his story because it's going to give someone else some hope and some options and some education about stomach problems. So Anderson, tell everybody kind of what you felt like or how were you before you came to the office?
So I came in and I was having really bad stomach problems where anything I would eat, it would pretty much put me down in bed where I couldn't do anything. My stomach felt like it was just getting clogged up. Was going to the doctor and they were going to try to take my gallbladder out because that's what they thought the problem was. Came here, my mother-in-law actually was like, I know someone that goes to the West Clinic. So we set an appointment, we came up here.
And Anderson, walk people through, like, what was that experience like? What happened on our first visit and then what did we do?
So the first visit we came and kind of checked to see what my blood looked like. We did this thing, it's called the Cider, and it kind of tests to see what's going on in your body. It sends electric waves, right?
Yeah, measures the electroconductivity at acupuncture points.
Yeah, so they just kind of went through and they were able to identify what the problem was really quick.
Okay.
It was fast.
And then as far as the treatments and stuff, what did we do to help you?
So we went and I did the IV treatments.
Some vitamin fusion work with vitamin C and minerals.
Yeah, and then I took probiotic. I took supplements from the West Clinic, and what else did I do? I had to eat really healthy. Right. That was one thing that I had to do, was I had to eat really healthy, which wasn't the most fun, but by the end of it, you get to learn that eating that way, actually, you feel a lot better than eating the junk food that you like to eat.
And what was fascinating about that is Anderson paid the price to eat right, and then his body kind of recalibrated, and then he was telling me during this process, look, I don't want to be a junk food junkie. I just want to be able to eat a slice of pizza before I die.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like he was like, and I'm like, okay, like let's just get your body a chance to recalibrate, and I know you're eating clean now, but it was kind of fun because you had some pizza, and what happened?
I felt good. Didn't feel no stomach problems, no stomach aches.
Right.
Just felt great.
And so you guys, what happens when you give the body a chance to heal, and usually it's that 90 to 120 day mark where you literally get the chance for the mucosal linings and the microvilli in the stomach to kind of recalibrate. And I'm not advising them to go crazy and eat pizza all the time, but it was a big victory for us.
Yeah.
For you to do. So now we're doing our 6-month follow-up. So Anderson, tell people how you feel now.
I feel great. Like I don't have any stomach problems. Like, I don't know. I feel great. Like I'm able to act like I did whenever I was before I had the stomach problems.
So our goal is we hit it hard at the beginning. He cleaned up his diet. We rehabbed his gut, and now my plan is like I think we should have a recheck in a year. Follow the good guidelines of clean eating. We're gonna do one supplement for his nervous system, one kind of maintenance thing from his stomach, but like you don't need a lot of intervention. That's what's really fun about cases like this is the goal is to make it so that people don't need you. And that's my goal. Like you don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
So, Anderson, a lot of times people learn some really important lessons when they get sick. Is there any lesson that you could share with people about this stomach journey that you've been through?
One thing that I learned for myself was that I like vegetables because that was the only thing I could eat for like a year. Right. But like being able to look back and be like, okay, like I need to take care of myself, being able to learn how to take care of myself too, because that was something that I didn't really know. And I felt like you guys kind of gave me the guidelines of, oh, this is how I take care of myself so that I can stay healthy.
Right.
And that's probably what I learned.
So if someone was watching this across the street or across the country, like, one, I wanted to give people hope. Like, almost all my patients have stomach problems. Like, you can have autoimmune and stomach problems, or cancer support and stomach problems, and stomach problems and stomach problems. But like, you are what you eat and you are what you absorb. But if someone's watching this looking for hope, what would you suggest or recommend, saying, look, I've been through this, like, here's what's in front of you on your pathway, or how would you advise them so that they can have a takeaway to make their life better?
You'll have to rephrase that question.
All right. So, yeah, I'm sorry for rambling. So, like, how would you, if someone's watching this across the street or across the country, any takeaway recommendations or advice that you would give someone with stomach problems?
I mean, first start off eating healthy. If you're still having stomach problems, I would definitely come here to the West Clinic and get checked out, see if you have any underlying problems that might be causing those problems.
So a great example of you're not your diagnosis. If you put building blocks in the system, you can totally get better. I'm so happy and proud of Anderson for taking ownership of cleaning up some of the junk food. We've rehabbed his stomach. Now he's on this awesome pathway where he really doesn't need us. We'll see him in 12 months. And kind of the goal from there is like, show up once a year until one of us doesn't show up. And since I'm a lot older than you, like, my son's going to start, be able to take care of you. But a really neat story of how you can help stomach problems. This is Dr. West and Anderson of the West Clinic signing out. We'll see you guys on the next video. All right, so that was Anderson's story about stomach problems. So let's kind of get into like how we can get the stomach balance. So I put together a quick little presentation on how we can, kind of go through an overall quick understanding of the stomach university. And this is what we've put together to kind of give a real quick overview of the right and some wrong ways to treat stomach problems. So I put this graphic up there because you are what you eat, but just as important, you are what you absorb. I think this is something that we forget about a lot. Is it's just as important that you're able to use what you're putting into your stomach as what is actually going into your stomach. And surprise, surprise, 80% of healthcare conditions, whether it's heartburn or the more advanced version of heartburn, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease, loose stools, chronic constipation, gastritis, ulcers, hemorrhoid, food allergies, and food sensitivities. And so we're going to touch on these, of giving you some good ideas of how to help heal and soothe irritated GI tissue, how to help break down food faster. And I think this is really important. Like, if you have nothing else from the presentation, from the Stomach University, recognize that a lot of times your body's creating wrong acid, not too much acid. And so one of the long-term effects of giving an acid blocker or acid stopper or, calcium carbonate or Tums is that it shuts off part of the gallbladder and pancreatic enzyme reflux. Now, this is my personal opinion of what happens with so many problems of people that they just can't seem to get their health back on track, because what's happening is they are having these chronic 80% of healthcare conditions. And so looking at what we can do for health and the stomach problems and stuff like that, let's look at some of the common symptoms associated with stomach problems. Migraine headaches, either from not being able to absorb minerals or not regulating blood sugar. So you get the reactive hypoglycemia where you're having to literally power through. You got to have some type of stimulant, and this leads to other problems. And so when I talk about stimulant, I'm talking about things like sugar or caffeine or some type of stimulant that you've got to use to get through the rest of the day, because what you're happening is you're not able to concentrate. We have that hyperirritability, the hyperactivity, tension, fatigue, dizziness. This is all related to blood sugar problems. And it's related to digestion problems. It's how your stomach and your pancreas are interacting. And there's just a host of problems. And then what happens if you need a crutch and you need sugar or you need caffeine or that donut or energy bar or protein or something like that? What happens is now we get kind of this dependency that, oh, I can't function unless I have this. Now, one of my favorite ways to start with stomach problems is to see what happens when we speed up digestion. So I put this little graphic here, apple cider vinegar. This is one of my favorite natural treatments to recommend for people because about 80% of the time it really helps people. And it's a simple test. It's really inexpensive. I think you should do this literally before we start doing more extensive, blood tests and looking at IgA and IgG and IgM markers, is to do this simple test, the apple cider vinegar, because what it does is this helps to break food down. Now, a lot of times when people have acid reflux and heartburn, they'll say, well, wait a minute, Dr. West, this is the wrong way to do it. I've got acid. If I put acetic acid in my stomach, it's going to make things worse. But follow me on this. If you put food into your system and you're not breaking it down correctly, what happens is the food sits there, ferments, it rots, it decays. It's not going south. It's going to go up north. And now you have that heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux disease where things are just so uncomfortable. You have to sleep sitting up, or you're reaching for the Tums or the antacids or the proton pump inhibitor. Now, here's what I would recommend. Try a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a half a glass of water after meals. And what occurs is most of the time it helps to put the digestion faster so the food can't ferment, rot, and decay. Now, about 1 out of 5 times, so 20% of the time, it will irritate you, and then we have to calm down the sympathetic nervous system. So literally, no matter what happens here, we've got some really good information of what is happening to the system. Now, here's the good news. If you do have too much parasympathetic innervation to the stomach, and apple cider vinegar or digestive enzymes, papaya, bromelain irritates you, now what happens is we can calm it down with mineral. The miracle mineral is magnesium, and then the secondary mineral for the sympathetic nervous system is phosphorus. So this is a really great test for people that have chronic stomach problems. 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar. Also a consideration if you don't like apple cider vinegar, which this is what I would, with the camp that I would fall into, a full spectrum digestive enzyme that helps to break down protein and fats and carbs. So you can do the same thing. You don't always have to take apple cider vinegar, but you can take a full spectrum digestive enzyme. Now, we have this recommendation in the links. If you need a good source, apple cider vinegar alternative or a pill form, you can pick that up. But a lot of digestive enzymes, like, it gives you information. This is a mini test for your GI system. Now, if you're having too much acid, which means an overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, I would love to present this to you. Number 1, look at your fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K. It's literally comes out of plants, and it helps to heal and soothe irritated GI tissue. So it literally helps to get all of that to calm down. Using some healthy fiber, and like celery is a really good option. You can use cascara, you can use sienna. If you need a good fiber product, follow the links inside of this program. And the mineral. Now, the mineral that I talked about is phosphorus. There's only one company I'm aware of that really creates a standalone phosphorus product, but phosphorus helps to downregulate the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system so that you're not creating too much acid. Like, it's just a wonderful way to calm down over acidity. But I'm going to tell you, most of the time, it's inadequate digestion that causes so many stomach problems. Now, the next thing that it afflicts so many people is too fast of bowels. Loose, watery stools. Usually there's an infection component, at least my experience there is. There's an allergy component. People are eating or being exposed to the wrong thing. Chronic stress patterns. Remember, stress is not a disease. It just makes every disease worse. And then we're looking at some metabolic or internal healthcare problems, but some ideas of what to do for diarrhea. This is kind of how I attack this monster. Number 1, I really like to see an acupuncture energy medicine component. Like, this is one of my educational pillars, is in acupuncture. I like balancing out the energy, using digestive enzymes and fiber, and looking at the immune system. So if you're having chronic diarrhea, I like to bump your immune system a little bit. I like using the herb echinacea. I like lomatium that are really good immune system stimulators, and just helping to clean up the GI system and making sure you're getting a little bit of bulk in your stews. So that's where we go back and we pick up a really nice fiber product. Now, looking at the opposite of that, if your bowels are slow, and this is such a significant problem with so many chronic health problems, people come in. I just had a patient today that came in and said, the last time I had a bowel movement was literally, it felt like a couple little pebbles 3 weeks ago. Are you concerned? Yes, I'm extremely concerned. And the reason why is because you should be like a baby. You should put food in, we should break it down, and then we should have food coming out. Remember, anything that goes into your system, you use as energy, you use as a building blocks, or you excrete it out of the system. Ideally, you should be going to the bathroom at least once or twice a day. It's not normal to go 2, 3, 4 days between bowel movements. And so let's look at what you can do for the constipation, which includes, hard stools longer than 3 days, bloating. It's a risk factor for rectal vein distress and hemorrhoids and spider veins. And one of the biggest factors in constipation is dehydration. And there's so many people that are like, I just really don't like water. And so what happens is they're dehydrated and they can't form stools. So some considerations for constipation help. 1, increase water take. Again, go back to this digestive enzyme, apple cider vinegar fat pathway. And then my very favorite is bile salts. So what are bile salts? As your food comes down the GI system, what happens is in the fats in the food, the fats have to be broken down or they have to be emulsified. It's kind of like washing your dishes with a little bit of soap. Like if the soap breaks up the grease or the fats, that's what the liver gallbladder system does. So the liver makes bile and stores it up inside of the gallbladder. If the gallbladder becomes diseased and taken out, you can live without a gallbladder. We just have to be a little bit more careful with the liver health and recognizing that as the food is coming down, we have to instantaneously create some type of emulsification process. This is the bile salt pathway. And that's why a lot of times when people get their gallbladders removed, they just really have to be careful with, fatty foods and gravies. And sometimes it's eggs and sometimes it's essential fatty acids. And of course, the bad fats, which I really say is vegetable oils and certain types of saturated fats. People that don't have a gallbladder struggle with those, and you can help by giving the body some bile salts. So there's a really good link for bile salts inside of our recommendation program. It's also inside of the ebook that goes along with this. Now, touching base real quick on gastroenteritis, it's a short-term, illness triggering upset stomach. Symptoms include abdominal cramps, diarrhea, vomiting. A lot of bacteria and viruses cause this, or reaction to chemicals, parasites, which I think there's a lot more parasite problems in the United States than we give credit for. Most of the time, stomach specialists are like, well, you haven't been to a third world country, you haven't been outside, travel the country. Well, guess what? There's a lot of Giardia, there's a lot of parasites, there's a lot of things that are in partially undercooked food. And sometimes your pets accidentally can transmit those, and it just destroys your stomach. So if you're having an irritated stomach, I would suggest doing 3 things. One of my favorite things to recommend to help people to have healthy blood is to use chlorophyll, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. There's a couple other vitamin cofactors. The old school terminology is vitamin F, vitamin G, and vitamin P, that if those cofactors in, it really helps to heal and soothe irritated GI tissue. It makes your blood healthy, but it's so good for calming down a stomach. And the other one that I just really enjoy is called choline. Now, I had a write-up on choline that is too far away for me to grab, so I'm just going to have to tell you a little bit. Phosphatidylcholine helps to regulate or protect cell membrane, so it's really important for helping stuff to get in and out of the cell that's supposed to be there, but it's also strengthening up the cell membrane so it's hard for bad things to get in to the system. But also what it does is it helps with nausea. It helps with dizziness. Choline is kind of lumped into the B vitamin family, but it's just so good for a queasy or upset stomach. And then if you have that gastroenteritis pathway, or you're having diarrhea or alternating constipation, so it's either too loose or too full, we got to stimulate the immune system. I like using liposomal vitamin C and working on your thymus and your spleen. It's a really nice way to calm down the stomach. So the choline, the stomach stabilizer, it's a water-soluble B vitamin, amazing for nausea, for throwing up, and for dizziness. And we cover like things that are in where it comes from, how to take it and everything inside of our YouTube channel. You can go to Dr. Jason West and you can see the different choline things. I'm going to put a little article about choline inside of the download section that'll be available in 24 hours, because choline is such an amazing thing with literally no side effects that just calms down irritated stomachs. And again, if you need a good source for choline, it's going to be down in the show notes. But man, it's just one of the neatest things I've used over the last 22 years for helping to calm down an upset, irritated stomach. Now, touching a little bit on ulcers. Ulcer is when we have an infection of the stomach lining. When it's high up, we call it a gastric ulcer. When it's a little bit further down, a duodenal ulcer. And then if it's right at the top, we have esophageal ulcers. Now, this is when we have just too much stuff that's going on inside of the system, an infection and hyperacidity, and like we don't have that mucus protective layer. So a couple ideas, like if you're struggling with ulcers, so one of the first things, again, get the immune system. Sometimes antibiotics have helped, sometimes they haven't helped. I think it's really important to put the body back in balance. And then the neat thing for ulcers, I really like vitamin A, because vitamin A helps to protect the mucous membranes of the body, literally your nose, your eyes, your mouth, your GI system, all the way to the exit of the body. And using that chlorophyll, which is a fat extract of plant, basically blood. Now, plants don't necessarily have blood, but it's kind of like getting a plant blood transfusion where you're getting all those fat-soluble vitamins to help rebuild the GI system. There's also a consideration for using some protomorphogen therapy, which is a glandular extract that comes from, it's an animal-derived product that gives your body a DNA blueprint to help GI conditions. And if you look at our YouTube channel, I've got so many patient success stories on GI problems using a protomorphogen advanced medical nutritional therapy. Looking also at what you can do for the next things, not only for ulcers, but if you have too many stress inside of the GI system, particularly with chronic rectal distress, one of the things that happens is it's a risk factor for varicose veins, for spider veins, and hemorrhoids. Now, not a lot of people like to talk about hemorrhoids because it's socially awkward, but it's such a common problem, like 3 out of 4 people. You can call it piles. It's swollen veins in the anus and the lower rectum, similar to varicose veins. And if you can regulate your GI system, and what happens is it takes the pressure off of the mucous membrane and the circulatory system, and hemorrhoids invariably seem to improve. So even though hemorrhoids really aren't considered, a acid reflux or possibly, a GI system, it's closely related to how you're processing food. So I just wanted to tell people, look, if you if you have hemorrhoids, if you increase your water intake, if you work on your digestive system, if we help the pancreas to secrete pancreatic enzymes, if we work on the liver, gallbladder, bile connection, what happens is it takes the stress off of that circulatory system. Now, a quick information, I should say, about hemorrhoids. One of my favorite things to do to help this as part of a GI problem is to give rutin factor and bioflavonoids, which helps vitamin C to work better. What vitamin C does, it's really important for vascular integrity. So one of the best things that has those rutin factors, bioflavonoids in is stone root. What it does is it helps to improve venous tone. It has that vitamin C factor, the rutin factor, and the old school terminology for that was looking at vitamin P. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk about too much on food sensitivities and food allergies. That's coming up in another video. Like, we could literally create a 30-minute presentation on acid reflux and on constipation and on diarrhea and pancreatic dysfunction and the liver. And so it wasn't possible to cover everything, but pay attention, and we're going to come up with some food sensitivities and food allergy videos. There's always additional information here inside of our program here, or there's an ebook download that is you can access. If you didn't see this on our live program, we've got a wonderful library. I've got over 300 presentations on different things like arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, like fibromyalgia, muscle cramps. We're going to do some programs on endometriosis and hormone health and what you can do for a swollen prostate. That's all on our website, drjasonwest.live. That is our quick overview of the Stomach University natural treatments for food problems. I'm your host, Dr. Jason West. We do this every single week, Wednesdays at 6 o'clock on Facebook and on YouTube. So I hope we've given you a nice overview of what you can do. Start off with helping your body to digest or break down foods, using fat-soluble chlorophyll to heal and soothe irritated GI tissue, looking at bile salts, helping the body to break down fats, which actually helps with slow bowel. So one of the constipation treatments is we want to get the liver, the gallbladder system working. If you don't have a gallbladder, we just need to do a little bit more work on the liver system, taking the pressure off of the circulatory system at the exit of the body for hemorrhoids is related to rutin factor and vitamin P. That's our program for tonight. If you have a healthcare problem, check us out on West Clinic online. You can put the comments inside of the session. If you feel that there is benefit and you learn something, please give us a like and give us a share, give us a shout out. You can also pick up our show on the podcast platforms. We are on Apple iTunes, we are on Spotify, and of course, we're right here on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Dr. Jason West, and we will see you guys next week.